but it's like all of a sudden the rest of the world has tuned in, has an ability to tune in. Some veil has been lifted, and the rest of the world is able to witness. And it's and I encounter so many people who are just devastated and shocked. How could this possibly be? You mean they kidnapped the children? I mean, there's photos of the parents setting up their teepees outside a little distance away from these residential boarding schools, knowing that their children were in there.
Mm.
I mean, it's the creativity of the genocides is astounding.
In the way that we're not gathering, I see, you know, political leaders all have to appear like they have it together and they know what's going on, means that there's not really this space of this collective listening and hearing, you know, what does it mean to learn this moment? So I think that's perhaps the intersection of maybe the question is too, is how do we come together in a way to meaningfully hear, you know, what is the medicine of the moment? Like, what are we meant to learn by listening to each other? Zamir's maybe not quite sure on that one.
Yeah. No,
Maybe
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be my question, my curiosity. Maybe we could circle back as well if more is stirred from that.
So the question is, what's going on? Let's see. Well, so as you were talking in several things came up between both of you talking here. So I feel like I've had a pretty big shift recently in looking at, you know, what is my role to bring here at this time. And for a long time, I thought it was to call out atrocity because it's not told. We don't know. I mean, the discovery of these mass graves in these residential boarding schools, I mean, was it that our people didn't know? Of course our people knew. Our parents and grandparents were telling us the stories of what happened there. No, this is a co-witnessing moment right now. And that's what's bringing up so much emotion for Indigenous peoples. I mean, Indigenous peoples are going through some trauma right now over this discovery. And obviously the people who ran those boarding schools, they also knew what was happening. They were the ones doing it. And, but it's like all of a sudden the rest of the world has tuned in, has an ability to tune in. Some veil has been lifted, and the rest of the world is able to witness. And it's and I've encountered so many people who are just devastated and shocked. How could this possibly be? You mean they kidnapped the children? I mean, there's photos of the parents setting up their teepees outside a little distance away from these residential boarding schools, knowing that their children were in there. I mean, it's the creativity of the genocides is astounding. And so this is a moment for co-witnessing. And I'm going to say the moment of the murder of George Floyd, similar. How many Black men have been killed on the streets with impunity? But all of a sudden there was a possibility for a co-witnessing. Did Black people not know that was happening? Of course they did. Did the police not know that was happening? They were the ones doing it. They knew. But there's this moment of co-witnessing going on and allowing, you know, and as my daughter says, we can't actually heal until we fully let in the harm, fully acknowledge the extent, the depth of the harm.
You know, sorry.
I'm going to keep going here for a little bit longer. So to let in that harm is something that we have not been willing to do collectively. And I'm going to say through a lens of colonialism, because we were looking to one branch of humanity's view of how things were supposed to be conducted, created, aligned. And everybody was supposed to go along with it. And that was part of where the blindness came. And I'm going to say today we're in danger again because of the spiritual bypassing, because of the toxic positivity. I love these terms. But we have to have this moment of allowing it in. And once we have that moment, then we can begin the process, the whole, you got to feel it to heal it. And so I'm thinking about that. And so for me, I feel like what my role is here is to present to the world, because I live in two different paradigms, and that's what you were speaking of, was there's not one way to go about this. And so what I'm trying to bring is by bringing up my culture, by presenting this very sacred object in my hand, by wearing this coral that is very sacred to us, by wearing this jewelry, by is to say there are people living amongst us that have a very different understanding of what it means to be human here on this Mother Earth, other than what is in modern world paradigm. So for me, I'm just discovering that what a privilege I have. What a privilege I have to walk in two paradigms, even though it has been confusing and very painful at times. Today I sit and say, wow, this is like a giant gift. And so I feel like it's on me to present this, not so much to invite people to come and be Diné or Lakota, but to say, because I wonder what is it like to be born into modern world paradigm, which is what you were also describing, and think like this is just Earth, Wall Street, this is just Earth, Western medicine, this is just how Earth is. I mean, what else could you think if that's the only paradigm you've been presented with in school, in family, multi-generations? You wouldn't have any other way of realizing there's a lot of other things going on here amongst humanity, not
Yeah.
only in the past, but even right now.